Hello, I'm Kate Dalby of Inspiring Test Preparation in McLean, Virginia. Welcome to our math drill series. These drills are intended to improve mental math skills for 7th and 8th graders. We will teach you problem-solving techniques to increase your scores on the following test. The admissions test for TJ, that's Thomas Jefferson High School of Science and Technology in Fairfax County, Virginia. HSPT, which is the high school placement test, that's a test used for Catholic schools. The SSAT, that's the secondary school admissions test for various private high schools. Also used is the ISEE, that's the independent school entrance exam. The NYSHSAT, that's the New York Specialized High School Admissions Test. That's a test used by New York City to screen students for their specialty high schools, such as a well-known Stuyvesant High School. Other cities have STEM specialty schools, and they also have their own admissions tests. STEM, by the way, is science, technology, engineering, and math. Ideally, you will have already taken a pre-algebra course and know basic algebra and geometry. I will review key concepts as needed. You should take the drill on paper before you watch this video. Print out the corresponding PDF file, which includes the test questions, the bubble sheet, and the answer key. You are allowed 30 minutes maximum to take the test. If you can't complete the drill in 30 minutes, you will need to work on your timing. As you work through the drill, mark a question mark beside questions you guess on, and mark a T beside questions that eat up your time. And circle your answers on the test. Make sure you don't get hung up on any one problem. Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. If you find you have poor mental math skills, you'll want to review not only those problems you got wrong, but also problems that ate up your time. The 3 things you want to review on this video are the questions that ate up your time, the questions you guessed on yet got right, that way you know how to do them every time, and questions you got wrong. You can quickly scroll through the video to review only those explanations you want to watch. The right corner of the board will show what drill we're reviewing, and the left corner will show the question being explained. So pause the video, take the drill, and meet me back here for my solutions. Hello, welcome to drill number 4. Question number 1. What is the difference between 5% of 50 and 50% of 5? Now this is all based on the concept that AB equals B times A. That's A times B equals B times A. That's the commutative law. It doesn't matter what order you add or multiply things in. So here, if we say 5% of 50 and we compare it to 50% of 5, well, you can see that these two things are equal. 5 times 50 and 50 times 5 are going to be equal. So the difference between them is 0. Question number 2. Penny jogs at 3/4 of Veronica's pace. If Penny and Veronica started jogging at the same time, and Penny jogged 6 miles, how many miles did Veronica jog? So you would say Penny, and jogs could be written as equals 3/4 of, and of is multiplied, Veronica, V for Veronica. And Penny is 6, so you can just say 6 equals 3/4 Veronica. To solve for Veronica, you need to get rid of the 3/4. You can do that by multiplying both sides by 4, dividing both sides by 3. These cancel. 3 goes into 6 twice, and 4 times 2 is 8. So Veronica is 8, and your answer is D. Question number 3. G is an element of the set 0, 4, 0.6, 0.7, 2, or 2.6. What is G? So this one, you probably want to reduce this down. You can rewrite this. If you multiply the top by 100 and the bottom by 100, you would get 80 times G over 12, because you move this over and you move this over. So 80 over 12, you can divide this by 4 and divide this by 4. So really you're looking at 20 over 3 times G. So the question is, if we put any of these values in for G, will we get an integer? So if you take 0.4, well, 3 has to be able to go into either 20 or 0.4. It doesn't, so you can get rid of 0.4 as a possibility. You don't really have to do anything more than that. Now, when you come to 0.6, you end up saying 3 goes into 0.6, 0.2 times, and 0.2 times 20 is going to equal 4, which is an integer. So once you get an answer, you can just go ahead and answer 0.6 there, since we got an integer when we plugged it into the problem. Question number 4. On the line above, IM is equal to 2 centimeters. Here's I, here's M. This is 2 centimeters right there. And IM equals MJ, which means this also is 2 centimeters. So it equals 4 centimeters altogether. Now, the question is, what is HK? HK, its length is equal to 10 plus 8 minus 4 is 14. Another way to do it is to say 8 minus 4 leaves this to be 4, and 10 plus 4 is also 14. So that's question 4. Question number 5. A magician has X balloons in his left pocket. In both his left and right pocket, he has 2X plus 4. In terms of X, how many balloons does the magician have in his right pocket? So you've got a total number of balloons, which is 2X plus 4. In the left pocket, he has X. So we subtract X and we get X plus 4 for the other pocket. And that's all there is to it. Question number 6. There are 1,000 cars in a dealership. Of a sample of 10 cars, 3 were silver and 1 was red. Using only this information, what is the best estimate for the amount of cars at the dealership that are neither silver nor red? So if you have 1,000 cars, well, if you have 10 cars and 3 were silver and 1 was red, then that means 4 out of 10 were silver or red. That means 6 out of 10 were not silver or red. So 6 is to 10 as what value is to 1,000, and you would cross multiply or multiply both sides by 1,000, and you would get 6 times 100 is 600. Question number 7. A jar of candy is being distributed. The jar contains 14 gumdrops, 18 chocolates, and 8 mints. So 14G, 8 chocolate, 8C, and, 18C, and 8 mints. So that's a total of 16, 20, 30, 40 candies altogether. Now, A person randomly draws one gumdrop, so that brings it to 13 gumdrops, and one chocolate, which brings it to 17 chocolate. What is the probability the next candy pulled out of the jar, what is the probability it will be a mint? So we still have 8 mints in the jar, but instead of 40, we pulled out 2, which is 38 total. That would be 8 out of 38, which reduces to 4 out of 19. So your answer is D. Question number 8. Football offense is on the 3-yard line from the goal. So if you have the goal here and you go 3 yards, the offensive line has an illegal formation and is moved 5 yards back away from the goal. So if it goes 5 more yards, it's actually going to go to the 8th yard. A penalty on the defense then causes the offense to move half the distance to the goal. Well, if this is 8 yards from the goal, then half the distance would be going to the 4th yard. At what yard line is the offense next play? The 4th yard line. Number 9. I found this question a little ambiguous, so I'm going to tell you 2 different ways I interpreted it. You still end up with the same, sort of the same answer. I'll take it the way I interpreted it. A 12-foot tall plant will grow half its height each year. So we start off with 12 feet, half its height, that would be the first year, half its height is 12. So we end up with a height of 18. Now this is where it gets ambiguous. It says it grows half its height each year. I'm assuming it means half of the new height. So half of 18 would be 9. That would be its second year, and we would get 27. And then half of this is about 13 and a half. Is that right? 20? Yeah, 13 and a half. That would be the third year, and we would get 40 and a half feet. So to answer the question says, how many years will it take for the plant to reach over 30 feet? Well, it takes the third year of growth, which would be C. If you interpreted it to mean you added 6 feet each year, you'd have 12 plus 6 is 18, plus 6 is 24, plus 6 is 30, which equals 30. So technically, your answer would have to be 4 years to be over that, but the correct answer is 3. So I'm assuming that my first interpretation was the correct one. So hopefully, I wouldn't worry too much if you if you did it one of those 2 ways. I think the onus is on the test writer to have written the question unambiguously or less ambiguously. So if you had something else altogether, then there's an issue that you need to look into. Question number 10. There are 5,280 feet in a mile. There are about 1.6 kilometers in a mile. How many feet in 1 kilometer? So if you say there's 5,280 feet in a mile, then feet per 1 mile, and they say 1 mile is 1.6 kilometers, you can just get rid of your 1 mile and put in 1.6 kilometers. Now, 5,280 feet is to 1.6 kilometers as how many feet is to 1 kilometer. So all you really have to do is say this divided by this to get X. Cancel the kilometers on both sides. 1.6 goes into 5,280. move your decimal point over, and 16 goes into this, 32, 48. That's 3 times 16 is 48. And 12 minus 8 is 4. 4 minus 4 is 0. Bring down your 8. And 16 goes into 48 another 3 times. And then you have your 2 zeros. So 3,300 would be your answer to how many feet there is in a kilometer. Question 11. We have x times the quantity 2x minus 2 divided by the quantity x plus z times the quantity x plus z divided by the quantity x minus 1. Now, they give you some limitations. X cannot equal z. If that were so, you could have a 0 down here in the denominator. X cannot equal 1 because if it was equal to 1, you'd have a 0, and this would be undefined also. So that's why they add those two notations there, so you wouldn't have that case of them being undefined. Now, what we want to do is simplify this, and the first thing we can do is note that we have in the denominator this that matches this, so we can eliminate those. Also, this binomial can be factored to 2 times x minus 1. That's 2 times x minus 1. Now, you note you have x minus 1 down here. X minus 1 down here can cancel with this one here. And we get 2 times 1 is 2. And 1 times 1 is 1. And we have the x over here still, so 2 times x would get us 2x as our final answer. Question number 12. Between two consecutive positive integers, between which two consecutive positive integers is the square root of 9 squared plus 8 squared? You have to do the work underneath the radical sign. The radical sign is a grouping symbol. And if you remember PEMDAS, please excuse my dear Aunt Sal, the rule is you do what's inside the parentheses first. So 9 squared is 81, 8 squared is 64, you add them together and you get 8 and 6 is 145. Now if you remember, 145 is greater than 144, and it's less than 169. Therefore, the square root of 169 will be greater than the square root of 145, which is greater than the square root of 144. This is 12. Let's, this is still this. And this is 13. So the square root of 145 is between 12 and 13. And that's how you can do that problem. Question 13. What is the perimeter of a circle with the area 16 pi? So you need the formula for area, which is pi r squared, and set that equal to 16 pi. You then divide each side by pi, and you get r squared is 16, which means r is 4. Square root of 16 is 4. Now, what is the perimeter? I think they mean the circumference. Now, if r squared equals 16, then r equals 4. Now, the question says, what is the circumference of a circle with the area 16 pi? The circumference formula is 2 pi r or pi d. In this case, we can just take r, substitute the value 4 in for r, and we get 2 times 4 is 8 pi. So the circumference is 8 pi. Question 14. Given the set of numbers from 1 to 66, how many of the numbers in this set of numbers, and this ... means all the numbers in between, how many of the numbers in the set above have 6 as a factor but do not have 4 as a factor? So what they're saying is, if you took all the numbers that are multiples of 6, that would be 6, 12, 18, 24, etc. 6 is one of the multiples that does not have 4 as a factor, but 12 does, and 24 does. Now, a way to do this problem quickly is to say 66 divided by 6 is 11. But if you think about it, 12 goes into 66 5 times, and so there would be 5 of the 11 values here that are divisible by 4, so the number of values that we're looking for is 11 minus 5 equals 6 values for a total, for an answer B. Now, another way to do this problem, you don't have, if you're uncomfortable doing it this way, you don't trust that it's correct, you can just simply write out, it's pretty clear that 66 divided by 6 is 11. Then you can just write all the ones that are multiples of 12. You've got 12, 24, 36, 48, and 60. You can see that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so you would just subtract that from 11 to get 6. So there you go. Question 15. How many square yards of tile would it take to tile a 27 by 36 foot room? I recommend that you convert your 27 to yards first and convert your 36 to yards before you figure out the area. So 36 divided by 3 is 12 yards. So to figure out how many square yards, if you've got a 9 by 12, you just say 9 times 12 is 108 yards squared. I recommend doing it this way because if you say 27 times 36, one, that's a larger number, and so it's more work that way. And also sometimes people divide by 3 instead of dividing by 3 times 3 is 9, and they end up with a value that's like 324, although that's not an answer choice, so hopefully you go back and think it through. But if you convert first, then you're less likely to make that little gaffe. Question 16. A drawer contains 11 pairs of black socks, 8 pairs of white socks, 7 pairs of brown socks, for a total of 26 pairs of socks. Now, Peggy removes 8 pairs of socks, one of which was black. So we would take away 8 and be left with 18. Now, she started off with 11 pairs of black socks, but picked out one already, so that leaves her with 10 pairs of black socks out of the remaining 18 pairs. And the question is, what's the probability that the next sock is black? You would take 10 over 18, reduce it to 5/9, and your answer would be C. So hopefully that was clear. Question 17. The polygon ABCDEF is a regular hexagon. It has 6 sides. The arrow inside rotates at a rate of 1/3 revolutions per minute. Now 1/3 would be from here to here, second third would be here to here, and one last third would be here to here. So we're going to go from A to C in 1/3 of a revolution, C to E in 1/3 of a revolution, and E to A in 1/3 of a revolution. Now, if the arrow begins at A in 10 minutes a lap, well, if it's 1 revolution per 3 minutes, it's going to be 3 revolutions per 9 minutes, which means that in 9 minutes it's going to go 1, 2, 3 full times. It's a pretty slow thing there. And let's see, that means that in our last minute we'll go 1/3 of the distance. Now, 1/3, as I stated before, would be going 1/3 of the way around. 1/3 of 6 sides would bring us to C. And so the answer is B, item B, the side C. Question 18. A driveway measures 4 yards wide by 6 yards long, was covered with 6 inches of snow. How many cubic feet? So we want to convert everything in the same way we did on the last problem that was converting feet to yards. We want to convert yards to feet and inches to feet. So 4 yards, since there are 3 feet in a yard, you would multiply 4 times 3 to get 12 feet. And then we would multiply the 6 yards, and we'll multiply that by 3 to get 18. And then 6 inches of snow, since they're 12 inches per foot, that would be 1/2 of a foot. So we have our length times our width times our height for the cubic feet that we're looking for. Now we can say 1/2 of 6 is 3, and then we get 3 times 3 times 3 is 27, times 4 is 108 cubic feet. Question 19. A vote between 2 policies was won by 75% of 2,000 ballots received. So 75% of 2,000 is the number of winning votes. That leaves you 25% of 2,000 that voted against the measure. So 75 minus 25 would be a differential of 50%, and 50% of 2,000 is equal to 1,000. Now you can do it the other way. You can say 25% of 2,000, that's a quarter of 2,000, is 500. And 75 or 3/4 of 2,000 is 1,500. So 1,500 minus 500 would get you 1,000. But the way I did it the first way is the easier way to do it. Question 20. Circle shares tangents along both the x and y axis of a standard coordinate system. Of the choices below, what could not be a possible coordinate on the circle? Well, they give you -4, 4, which would be around here. They give you 10, 10, which is here. They're both going to be on a 45-degree angle to the y-x axis. 0, 15 could be somewhere around here, and 15, 0 somewhere along here. Well, you could have a circle that was tangent at that point. You could have a circle that was tangent at this point. you could have a circle that went through this point here, and you could have a circle that went through this point here. All these are possibilities, but there's no way it's going to go through 0, 0. There's no way you can draw a circle that will go through 0, 0. So the answer is E for question 20. Question 21. In a scale diagram, each ½ represents 10 feet. So you have a scale of 1/2 to 10 feet. How many square inches on the diagram equal 1 square foot? Well, you can't compare directly inches to feet. You have to convert this to square inches and square feet. So if I were to square this and square this, I would have a 1/4 inch squared to 100 feet squared. And now I can set up a ratio of 1/4 is to 100 feet as what is to 1 foot squared. And so our answer, we're going to find our answer by saying 1/4 divided by 100. So if you have 1/4 and you divide it by 100, you multiply it by the reciprocal 1/100 to get 1/400. And you can convert 1/400 to decimal by multiplying by 25/25. Now, 1 times 25 is 25. 400 times 25 is 100, 2 zeros. So 4 times 25 is the 100, and then 2 more zeros, I get 10,000. So your first answer is 5/10, your second is 5 thousandths, your third is 25/10. Answer D is 25,000, and E is 25/10,000. So you have your 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, and so that would be your answer. 0.0025 is 25/10,000. So the answer is E. Question 22. Given the figure here, if the total figure is a perfect square, so if this is 4, this distance is 8, and this distance is 8, what is the area of this plus this? Now your area up here, your triangle, the area of a triangle is equal to 1/2 base times height. Now your base is 8. Your height is 4. And half of 32 is 16. So A, if we want to know A plus B, A is 16. And then this is half of a circle. Your area of a circle is pi r squared. So if the distance from here to here is 8, r equals 4. Now the area of a whole circle is pi r squared, but we want half of it. So when we square r, we get 16. And so the area of the whole thing is 16 pi, but half of it is 8 pi. And so we have 16 plus 8 pi, and that answer is going to be D. Question 3 is one of 3 free responses at the end. A free response, you need to write your answer on the bubble sheet in the space provided on the bubble sheet. Mary is wrapping gifts for a family holiday. She has 3 different wrapping papers to choose from, 5 unique bows, and 7 different tags to label the presents. How many unique combinations can she make of 1 wrapping paper, 1 bow, and 1 tag? So to solve this, you just simply say 3 wrapping papers, red, white, and blue, can mix with 5 different bows, so that would be 15 combinations right there. And then the tag, we have 7 different tags, so we could actually have 3 times 5 times 7 different unique combinations, which would be a total of 105. So that's a simple combination problem like you'll be seeing on the TJ exam. Question 24. The small island of Foros has a population of about 50,000 people, and it licenses its own cars. If a plate on the license has 2 letters followed by 2 digits, how many combinations of licenses can be made? So, if it has 2 letters and they can be A to Z, then that's 26 choices times 26 choices. And you've got, say, FL92 could be your plate number. So you have a choice of 26 combinations here, 26 here, so that's 26 squared. And then any of 10 digits from 0 to 9 here, and any of 10 digits from 0 to 9 here, which would be 10 squared. Well, 26 times 26 is 676, and you multiply that by 10 squared, which is 100, and the total number of combinations is going to be 67600. Question 25. City A and City B are 300 miles apart. We have City A here, and we have a train leaving City A at 9 p.m. We have in City B a train leaving also at 9 p.m. The train that's leaving City A is traveling 60 miles per hour. The train leaving City B is fast and is going 90 miles per hour. How long, at what time will the 2 trains meet or pass each other, since hopefully they're on different tracks and won't collide? So you need your formula, distance equals rate times time. And since they're going towards each other in 300 miles, if it's going 60 miles per hour, it would take 5 hours for A to get from here to City B, and it would take train B leaving City B, it would take it 300 divided by 90 hours to get from B to A. But since you're traveling towards each other, you can actually add the rates. So 60 plus 90 is 150 miles per hour. So 300 miles divided by 150 miles per hour will get you 2 hours. And those 2 hours, if you add it to 9, would get you 11 p.m. So the answer isn't 2 hours, the answer is 11 p.m. If you answered 2, you just didn't answer the question being asked. So that's it for the drill. And if you did well on drill number 4, then the next drill for you to try is drill number 5. And if you get 95%, 92% or better on that, I think you're in great shape and you can go take the test that you're getting ready for, as long as it's a 7th or 8th grade admissions test. So that's the drill. If you have further questions, you can contact me at kvs@katedalby.com or call 703-203-5796. See you next drill.